be brutally honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video.
What is up, everybody, man? Let's welcome my special guest who's been here his third time, by the way, Damon Bruce, man. How's it going, man?
I third time club, fantastic. At what point do I get my own pair of sunglasses to wear on the show?
You got to get some, man. Next time you got to wear some shades the next time. If you ever appear again, which I'm pretty sure the fourth time it's going to happen, but you got to get some sunshades, man. But yeah, the other day I was watching what you were saying, that this draft does have to be this most important for the Niners. They really had to hit on these guys.
There's just no doubt. I mean, they've sort of painted themselves into the corner of making this the draft that's going to decide everybody in the franchise's future. Like, I really do believe that the same answer to, did the 49ers have a good draft in 2005? Yes or no? Will be the exact same answer to, is Kyle Shanahan still the 49ers coach in 2028? Yes or no? Like, this is a dividing line, I think, in the regime and in this front office, to where they either will be able to continue, or this is a breaking point, which will be, where everyone starts their exit. There was clearly a new mandate by ownership to approach free agent differently than they have in the past. Dead cap money. Again, if teams aren't going to worry about it, I'm not going to worry about it. But the Niners have made the decision to carry more dead cap money with the decisions that they made this year to trim the fat of their roster than they've ever made in their lives. So this is a new way of doing business, and it better damn well work out with a crackerjack draft for all involved. And, no more of this, well, they hit on some picks in the fourth and fifth, but they swung and missed early. No, they have to continue to hit on picks in the fourth, fifth round. And for the first time in a long time, hit on their early picks. Obviously, Pooney has played. We still don't know about Ricky Pearsall. The jury's out on him. But whoever, if let's say they select 12 guys in this draft, 8 of them better be contributing this season for the 49ers to get through it.
Yeah, at least 8 of them, like the way you said it, like if they contribute, that's good. But get the early rounds, man. They always tend to miss a lot of those early rounds. Like, the first round is always the most failed pick for them. Like, every time they draft somebody in the first round, outside of Nick Bosa or Brandon Ayuk, it's always an F for these guys.
Who do you like? Who's your crush? Like, let's just say the 49ers, they're not trading back in the first round. They're picking at 11. Who do you like?
Well, if we're going with somebody who will be a day one starter, in my opinion, like, losing Dre Greenlaw can be something that people look at and overlook besides the defensive line and the offensive line. I get that part, but how are you going to replace somebody with Greenlaw's presence? I've heard a lot of buzz about Jahad Campbell or Jalen Walker. Those are guys that can actually make a difference with Fred Warner. I mean, they still may seem high on D. Winters, maybe being the guy too, but it would be nice to have 3 linebackers.
I think they're going to have to pick up Dre Greenlaw's replacement somewhere in this draft. A guy that I've been watching an awful lot is Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss. I think that he's going to be a day 3 answer. I think that he's not going to be going early. And when it comes to the 11th pick in the draft, if they're looking linebacker before they look anywhere else, I think they're looking in the wrong place, man. I think that anything that isn't a pick that addresses problems on either of the line of scrimmage at 11, if they are picking at 11, any pick in the first round, I think the first 3 picks need to be spent on the line of scrimmage, either offensive line or D tackle edge. They have to have it. I mean,
those are the 3 more important positions.
I just watched the same Super Bowl you just watched, and anyone who watched that Super Bowl walked away thinking anything other than trench warfare, we must have been watching 2 different games. And this is where the 49ers have been bullied. This is where the regression has happened, especially along that defensive line. The offensive line was just good enough to sort of be able to get the job done. Yeah. I want it to be better than that, but that defensive line needs massive improvement, massive improvement, with all of the clout in this draft being in defensive line depth. I think that has them fishing offensive line early. I know that there are a lot of people who think defensive line is assured. What is past is prologue. We've seen John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan make big investments in the defensive line in their history in this draft. So they're probably going to do it again, and they might be right. To me, I am taking Armand Membu or Will Campbell at 11. If they're both there at 11, I'm taking Membu. If Membu, who was my original draft crush, and then he ran that great 40 time and he became everybody's draft crush, if he's off the board and Campbell are off the board, then you go ahead and you pick up Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. I think if he's there, you go D-line there. I love James Pierce out of Tennessee. I know he's got some off-field problems that, people are a little worried about. On-field specimen, man. I don't need a Boy Scout. I need someone who's going to produce. If they wanted to go a little bit more of a gamble at 11, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee might be the guy. I think, and I've been talking about this with Larry. If you just want to draft him, don't worry about him, guy. I think that guy is Kenneth Grant.
Kenneth Grant, You need a big run stopper, a big body guy, somebody who could take the double teams and all that stuff. That's something we've been lacking, because we were ranked 29 last year because of those guys couldn't stop the run. And I don't know about his ceiling, but I think he's got one of the best floors in the draft. You're going to get a steady NFL starter without injury. This guy's going to play 6 to 8 years. This is a football player, a professional football player, somebody who's going to stay in the league. And that's what the Niners need. The Niners need someone who is out there, hand in the dirt, week 1, helping them along that defensive line, because they didn't address it in free agency. Yeah, I think that's one of those positions that I look at mostly. But if offensive line were to come available with Membu, I would just say it's obvious take him, because he can be your starter for the next decade. You can plug him. He can either take McKivitz' job, or you can just plug him at the other guard spot, and then he can take Trent's job within a year or so, and he would be your starter right off the bat. Yeah, I like the progression. Start him inside, move him outside. I think that Will Campbell fits that model too. Just because you're drafting a tackle out of LSU doesn't mean he's taking over for McKivitz, and obviously no one's taking Trent jobs until Trent leaves. So I think he plays for Aaron Banks. I really liked what I saw out of Ben Barch last year, but I didn't like it so much that I want him to come into camp without any competition. This team needs to stop trying to moneyball its offensive line and make a big investment. They did it in Pooney. I think they need to do it again. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of stuff we definitely need to clean up on, but I think this is a good question by Grad Dizer. He says, which position should the 49ers clean house at with this draft if the Niners are able to? When you say clean house, I mean, isn't that what they've done by saying goodbye to so many? They've cleaned everything pretty much, except the center position. Yeah, I really thought that Dahlman, the guy who signed for big money in Chicago, would have been the one free agent, massive expenditure I would have liked to seen the 49ers make. But look, they do. They need help all over the place, which is, I think why their approach to free agency has left a little, people scratching their head. Like, how come they didn't do more to just round out a roster that you're now going to have to round it out with you're not just round it out with, but you're building it through rookie. Yeah. So, just good luck with all of that. And we all know that Kyle doesn't have a lot of trust in rookies early on, and it's easy to get doghoused as a rookie.
in your first year playing for Kyle. So the amount of things that they need to get right in this draft, it's hard to go into a test knowing that anything other than an A+ leaves you in bad position. And they really do. They need an A+ draft.
Yeah, that's what it needs to start up with. I mean, we haven't addressed a lot of the flash names. I mean, Trey Brown, is he going to be a guy that's going to start? Maybe, but if we draft a cornerback, that might be good competition. You do have Darrell Luter, who actually didn't get much of a fair chance, so you don't know what you're getting with him yet.
Well, and again, you got Renardo Green, you got Diamador Lenore.
Yeah, those two.
I believe that you can never have enough corners. Like it's like pitching, right? You can't have enough of those guys around. But it feels like they've got their starters. And again, adding another corner early, dude, that guy better be Darrelle Revis. You better have the next Dion if you're taking a corner at 11 in this draft. And I know Jody Barron, the kid out of Texas, has got some buzz around him lately. The corner from Michigan has got a little buzz around him. If they trade back at 11 and then somewhere late teens, early 20s went with corner, I could live with that. I can live with that. I'm not here to tell you don't need more help there. But I just think that going into this year, overexposed in offensive and defensive line depth, undermanned is just a bad way to take a year that is built to be a winner and turn it into a loser. You know, Salah's back, last play schedule. I have liked what they've done, CG, with their special teams.
Yeah.
You know, how about this? I am either blind enough, naive enough, or dumb enough to still somehow, some way believe that Jake Moody can have a good year this year.
He had an off year. Maybe the injury was what it was.
I'm willing to extend a little benefit of the doubt there. And the fact that he hasn't already been an outright cut in an offseason that has been defined by outright cuts means they still believe a little bit too. And they've got a new special teams coordinator who I think, you know, he gets to make the final call. Do you think you can work with this guy? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, he's going to stick around. If the answer is no, we'll move on. I think they got the yes answer. And I have really liked what they've done to address the fact that their special teams coverage has been the single worst aspect of this team. Far and away. Special teams let this team down more than any other aspect of game day execution, and the inability to cover punts and kickoffs on special teams contributed directly to at least 4 or 5 losses from last season. I think they're going to be a lot better on special teams, and right there alone, I feel better about this team, even with all the incompletes, even with all the roster that, you know, hey, if you're good to go out and play a game today, you got Kalea Davis starting at defensive tackle. Good luck with that. I still think in a weird way they're a little bit better just by improving on special teams as much as they have alone. They brought in some real ace coverage guys, and that, I mean, again, they can't get worse, right?
They can't get any worse. And the new special teams coach has a good track record.
Right.
I mean, we had the 31st ranked special teams, 3 or 4 costly games. It came down to special teams. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
I mean, it was awful. I mean, you got to almost go out of your way to be that bad week after week. And it was to a point where 49ers special teams were doing more to help the opponent than
hey, you guys can have it.
Yeah. So that needs to be cleaned up. And in an off season where it's like they didn't address anything, at least they addressed that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the promising spot, because at least the special teams unit is going to be at least a lot better than what we had the previous years. I mean, there were the last couple of seasons where we lost based by special teams. Let's go with Super Bowl 58. Do we have to go back to that? Yeah, there was 2 costly games at that.
Get it right. It's been far too long. And I mean, you can say that Shanahan's really, you know, just because they invested high draft picks and kickers and punters doesn't mean that they've really gone about caring about special teams. As a matter of fact, I think it's easy to prove that Kyle, and what he's even said, he's not trying to win games on special teams. He's just trying not to lose them. Well, guess what? In your attempt to not win games on special teams, you certainly haven't. Not even close. So I think that special teams Jesus officially arrives in Santa Clara this year. There will be a believer.
Yeah, a lot of these guys on special teams. I'm pretty sure on day 3 when we get some of those guys, there are going to be a lot of those special team guys for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, if anyone who's fast is playing special teams, anyone who can run fast in a straight line and make a tackle, you are eligible to play on special teams. And this is a time where, I'm looking at Jacob Cowing. This is a guy who needs to get off of special teams and onto the line of scrimmage. And boy, does he seem like he's going to have the opportunity to do it because, wide receiver, especially if they really do a trade of Brandon Ayuk as well here and he gets traded, there is ample opportunity for current guys on this roster to get targets. I mean, from the total unknown of Tariq Owens to the just starting to get to know you, can't quite crack, the circle of trust with Kyle in your first year. Jacob Cowing taking a huge step forward this year. I don't think it's something that the 49ers want to have happen. They need to have that happen.
He needs to.
They need that.
He needs to give us some big plays. He's got the speed to put the top of the defense and all that stuff. I mean, you got DeMarcus Robinson for basically 2 years, but what's the punishment? That's the thing we're hearing about. Like, he's going to face suspension possibly for what he did after the season.
Yeah, he probably will. And look, there's just look at DeMarcus Robinson is just a guy. That's it. He's just a
jag. Just a jag. Okay.
Yeah, he's there. He's an NFL player who maybe makes a play in an NFL game for your NFL team, but he is hardly someone who is going to lead you back to any promised land or anything like that. He's a guy.
But he's the guy that's never missed the playoffs. That's what I looked at. I looked at every team he's played for. Never missed a single playoff.
But does he have anything to do with that? Is he guiding the way or is he along for the ride?
Maybe he's along for the ride. Who knows?
Is this correlation or causation? I'm going to say it's correlation, not causation.
But as far as like looking at the first 3 picks, the way you kind of put it, we go trenches, right? That should be what we need to focus on.
I would think so. I mean, we're talking 11, 43, and 75. If they just hold pat with what they are, no trading back or anything like that. If they addressed offensive and defensive line in the first 5 picks, I'm good with it. Like beef. It's what's for dinner in this draft. It has to be.
Yeah, give me them big boys, man. Especially if there's a good D-line, I'm taking him. But if Donovan Jackson happens to be available in the second round for somehow, then I would take him. But if not, maybe try to move up and get this guy because I like Donovan Jackson. He's a versatile guy. Even though he's listed as guard, he can play tackle also. So that's important.
Yes. I mean, yes. I mean, that's the thing. Somebody's going to get hurt. So don't think that all you need, well, we got these 5 offensive linemen that we really like. No, you better have 7. You better have 8 because somebody's getting hurt. And Trent is at the how much does he really have left in him portion of his career. You got to be asking that. McKivitz, I think, gets the short end of the stick with a lot of evaluations. He's a little bit better than some people want to admit, but you've got to be looking to upgrade that at all times. Jake Brendel has done nothing to be, we definitely trust him to be the center going forward, and there's no reason to even upgrade there. As a matter of fact, you can look at several examples on Pro Football Focus that say you can do a lot better than that. Maybe this is, oh, God, who's the guy that they had as their camp center last year?
You're talking about the one from Michigan, right?
Yeah. So, they need to – it seems like they've looked at an awful lot of their existing guys on their roster and they've gone, not the best, but good enough for us. I don't know if good enough for us is going to carry the day that much longer.
I mean, Cal's been our project. He's kind of been still a development, but then you got the kid from Michigan. I mean, the guy we picked up, he's supposed to be better, but he's still a work in progress. But I still think that's something we have yet to improve on. Even no matter how Chris Forrester thinks of Jake Brendel, it's not really fixing the issue. Like,
right.
No,
yeah. I mean, let me see what Drake Nugent looks like.
Yeah, Nugent.
Let me see it. before you just tell me. This is why I don't like the way that the 49ers wrapped up their season last year. I thought that they had 2 let's see what we got games. And instead of seeing what they got, they played them like, oh, we still have a chance to go to the playoffs. Like,
they acted like that, or they didn't even want to give it a chance.
The last 2 games of the year. What do you got? Do you got a real project that you can keep working on as a project, or is this guy just there's no reason to keep him around? I mean, what they signed. So Brock Purdy's about to get paid. Mac Jones is your backup, and Tanner Mordecai is your project. I mean, if that better freaking work, because that's the corner again they painted themselves into. They better be comfortable with the fact that, Mac Jones is a total reclamation project. Tanner Mordecai is as big of a project as you can have as a quarterback. And Brock Purdy is going to be the first guy to get, $55 to $60 million that a lot of people will still say, well, he's not worth that. And, no matter what they pay him, somebody's going to bitch about it. How much do you believe in Brock Purdy being the guy who's going to take your less than wide receiver core and make them all better? Because if you're going to give him 55 to 60 million, that's what you're saying, that this guy is going to make a C+ wide receiver anywhere else, at least B- over here. They'll be better just playing with Brock. So they better have that guy.
They better protect him too.
They better protect him.
Yeah, because I don't think it matters what wide receiver he gets. If that guy runs good routes, he made Juwan Jennings look like a household name.
And let's give Juwan Jennings some credit there too. He was really good. He played above what the expectations were for him. And that's why fans love him. He's great. He's better than we thought he was. He's better than his numbers say he will be. And the 49ers are going to need to find that formula working for them all over the place. And, oh, by the way, as we're talking about, this is a non-negotiable factor of success next year. Christian McCaffrey, come on down, man. You got to be as good as you've ever been in a 49er uniform. As good as you've ever been in a 49er uniform means you have to be a level of offensive player of the year caliber producer. The Niners don't get through this year with questions everywhere and not quite up to speed Christian McCaffrey. Like, that's not going to happen. So they need Brock to be great. They need McCaffrey to be, how about this? If we're talking about bilateral Achilles tendonitis at any point in 2025, 2025 is probably not going to go where you want it to go.
They're going to have to find a way to at least try to keep them fresh and try to they need to go into running back by committee a little bit. You can still give McCaffrey a lot of the touches, but try to split the carries with somebody.
My 2 biggest don't like that offseason decisions. And I'm going to give the Niners grace on the Dre Greenlaw choice only because torn Achilles means you can't predict what you're going to get going forward. You really can't.
Exactly.
I would have loved Dre Greenlaw back. And it sounds like there was a little buyer's remorse or seller's remorse in the Niners case. And they tried to talk him into coming back after he had agreed to move on. That story came out. I don't know who look at it this way. If anyone from the front office tried to convince him to come back after he agreed to leave, that's just lame. That's if it's players calling saying, "Oh, we're going to miss you," that's normal. If it was someone in the front office making that call, that's pathetic. But to me, the 2 biggest, I have trouble understanding why they did that, were Jordan Mason and Malik Collins. These are guys who I thought had good years last year with the Niners. Are young enough to further invest in. Is Collins perfect against the run? No. But he's good. He's a
good
enough player. And Jordan Mason, again, I'm not giving up on that guy. But they did.
But he got some more fire now because the Niners traded him for no reason, man. He felt like he could have been the guy.
Is Isaac Guerendo
We're hoping
that much better than Jordan Mason? I'll tell you what, when Jordan Mason early in the year was leading the NFL in rushing, do you think anyone was saying to themselves, boy, I hope he's a Minnesota Viking next year, whether Christian McCaffrey comes back or not? No. I mean, and I know that he got hurt and he wasn't able to produce, but it felt like they also stopped using him. And I don't get why or how this team goes through its running backs like it does. Sometimes I see it and it makes sense. Other times it leaves me just scratching my mind going, what are you doing here? I don't get it.
Yeah, too many running backs. They just keep they misuse them or they just run them to the ground. Mostly McCaffrey gets a lot of the touches, of course. And I feel like they need to go back to what they used to do in 2019 where they were able to balance the running game. But it's more like Kyle trusts more on CMC more.
You know what it is? It's like he finally found the drug that he can't put down.
Yeah, the addiction.
He was the guy who at the party, he wanted to spread it all around, and he used to go and he'd try a little of that and then a little of this and then go back to a little of that and a little of that. And then he walked into a room with a huge pile of Christian McCaffrey just waiting on a coffee table, and he couldn't stop snorting it. And I couldn't stop it, man. I understand how good he was, and you do too, CG. Like, there are times when some guy's so good, you're like, well, you can't take him out of the game. He's just killing it out here. They absolutely overused him in his offensive player of the year season, and I think it came back to bite them. Yeah. And I also think that they misled everybody about the severity of his injury. And they knew he wasn't going to play in week 1, and to call him a week 1 late game scratch was bullshit. And that put Jordan Mason in an awkward situation that I don't know if he ever really recovered from. How he trusted a lot of that, but media. And it's just that whole thing was weird. But this team is completely addicted to Christian McCaffrey. And if they have to go through another year without him, there will be withdrawals.
There will be that. But yeah, we're gonna have to see how that. We're just hoping that McCaffrey can stay healthy, but the way how they treat him, man, they just run him to the ground, and then you have to go with the next guy, which Garendo, we know he cannot stay healthy, man. Even with the body he's built, man, we don't know if he can.
I don't know. I mean, it's amazing that anybody can stay healthy for 3 games in the NFL in a row. I mean, it really is. This is a brutal,
getting more carries,
savage ass sport. It's amazing anybody is healthy one week after another. So injuries happen. Are you prepared through your depth for when that happens? And right now, the answer for the 49ers, it's an overwhelming no. They are not prepared for any level of severe injury at any portion of their team because they have no depth really anywhere right now. So I guess we're right back to where we started. How important is this draft? The answer is very,
very much. It's going to be, it has to be the most important one, or else this can be a setback, and like you said, maybe hot seat for the regime. But since we got to take this into an investment, the draft is so much of something for our draft crushes. Who's that one player you really want, man, regardless of which round?
So again, Membu is my guy, right? I think that he is just exactly what the Niners need.
Tone setter on the offensive line, a guy that can bring the energy, the athleticism. I mean, he's the guy.
Yes. Now, if we're just, hey, Damon, what do you want? I really, and maybe this is my Indiana bias talking, I would love to see the 49ers come for CJ West in like the 4th or 5th round. Defensive tackle out of Indiana.
Oh, you went to that school. That's why.
Yes, I did.
He's a good run stopper. I'm not gonna lie.
He is. He fits your run stopping needs. He is a body. And like I told you earlier, I like this kid named Chris Paul Jr. Now, a lot of people have watched Ole Miss to either evaluate, Jackson Dart, their quarterback, or they were looking at defensive tackle JJ Pegues. While I was looking at JJ Pegues, I couldn't help but notice this Chris Paul Jr. kid, and his nickname is Pooh. So you got to like that too. Pooh Paul Jr.
He's really good. Like the defense, the entire Ole Miss defense was like the best in that conference, man. That's just even Jarrett Ivey was somebody I like.
Yeah, I like Membu an awful lot. I like CJ West, and I like Chris Paul Jr.
Oh, I'm a big Chris Paul man right there.
Yeah. So and look, this isn't Chris Paul, Golden State Warrior. This is a whole other Chris Paul. So
no, the last time we got an Ole Miss linebacker, he ended up being a Hall of Famer.
There you go.
Maybe that's our luck right
there you go. Break out your Patrick Willis jerseys, everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, man. So from here on out, man, I think we can just go from here. But I think as far as the draft, man, it has to count for this one. I mean, even like you said, if we can get 7 or 8 of those guys to contribute, that's a good draft.
By the way,
if we just get what?
Go back through your history of NFL drafts. Any team walking out of any draft with 4 or more players of consequence had a hell of a draft. I mean, the failure rate so outweighs the success rate of any pick, any round. Nothing is guaranteed, not anywhere. So there will, just by this is the way the world works, be more failure than success in this draft for every team that drafts, including the Niners. So that's why it's a little scary. They've got, 11 picks right now. They might, if they trade Ayuk, they do another deal. If they trade back day of draft, they might have 14, let's call them 14 picks. Okay, so they need 7 ready to go year one players out of those 14 picks. And that is an almost mathematical impossibility to happen. So, along with every other team in football, the 49ers need to have a great draft, but they really need to have a great draft to be anything that we hope.
Yeah, they definitely do, man. And, I guess we can answer maybe a couple more questions and we can go from here because I know you got to go do something. Let's see. I guess to make it fair, I guess Isaac is a better pass blocker than Mason, but Mason's more of a physical kind of running back. He can take a lot of hits.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I didn't see enough out of Isaac Guerrero to be sure about any element of his career yet. He did bust off a couple of really big plays and otherwise was just, there. I mean, I was not blown so away by Isaac Guerrero. I thought, all right, you can get rid of Mason is now unnecessary. Mason is young enough to where I would have kept him around. I do not like that trade, and I don't like the compensation that they got for him either.
It was more like we got a 6th round for next year, and then we just move up to the 5th round for that 6th round swap, whatever we got out of it. But there's this one sleeper I keep hearing about. Like, what's your thoughts on this guy? This Teddy Buchanan guy. This guy looks like a clone of what they think of Fred Warner, man. This guy is very athletic. He can move all around for a linebacker.
Where's he from right now?
California.
That's right. He's the Cal kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to be honest. I have not done much studying of Teddy Buchanan. So how do I feel about him? I know that he spells the name Teddy wrong. That's what I know. It's the terrible way to spell Teddy. Your parents must have done a lot of mushrooms.
They had to be a little cold on that name, but yeah, he looks like an exceptional player. I think maybe 4th round or 5th. Maybe he might be more higher than that. We'll see. But I wouldn't sleep on that guy. He might be a potential draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's drafted for sure, but who, for what, was he, look at it this way. Because my wife went to Cal, I watch more Cal football than probably anyone needs to, but sometimes by choice, sometimes by happenstance. I don't think he didn't jump off the field to me at any point in time. At no point in time did I think, oh man, I'm watching an NFL linebacker right here. This guy, this guy is just fucking killing it out here. He's just a guy, but because I didn't see it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I am fallible. So I was telling this to Larry Krueger on, I think Monday or Friday, whenever we were doing the wake up show together. I remember being in college, and I went to college in Indiana. And I remember telling anyone who walked within 5 feet of me that if the Indianapolis Colts draft Peyton Manning over Ryan Leaf, they're the dumbest organization that has ever lived. Like, I so thoroughly believed that Ryan Leaf was going to be awesome. And Peyton Manning was just going to be a guy, and I remember being as committed to that as any sports decision I'd ever reached in my life. And again, find me anything in the world I could have been more wrong about. it would have been impossible to have been more wrong about that. So I always remember that whenever I start talking with absolute certainty about anybody in the draft, because I don't know and you don't know. And don't think a single general manager in football knows either. They are all doing their best, taking the most educated guess and gamble that they can take at all times. If everyone in football knew what they were doing, there is no way Brock Purdy is the last pick in the draft. So don't tell me anybody is state of the art at what is truly, you're throwing darts at the cosmos. Just hoping to hit a bullseye.
You're hoping that you get one of them correct on one of those. But, it's a crapshoot. We don't even know what these players are going to be at the end of the day.
There we go. Papa J saying, Damon, go watch his film. I want a full report by the end of the day. All right. You know what? I will get my Teddy Buchanan knowledge up.
Well, if you're going to do a little bit more, man, go check out Danny Stutzman, the Oklahoma linebacker.
I have seen that guy. Yes.
Oh, man. Yeah. See, we're on the same page right there. But I think we pretty much covered whatever you wanted, man. I know for all those people who are pretty much big on your channel, man, where can they find your channel?
Thank you. Damon Bruce Plus. Thank you. Come on by, like and subscribe. I'm so proud. We just went over 30,000 subscribers.
Congrats, man.
Thank you very much. I've for the first time in my life, I've done something that has been consumed over 1 million times. I got one short that has blown up, and it's the only thing I've ever done that has officially gone viral. In like 10 days, it's got 1.4 million views, and that has brought an awful lot of new people to the channel. So thanks everyone. Like and subscribe. And CG, thank you so much for having me on. It was great to talk to you again. Again, you're bold enough to reach out to total strangers and ask them to come on and do interviews about their careers, and you book better guests than some of the stations do in this town. So keep up your great work, man. Thanks for having me back on your channel, and I wish you and your audience the best. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, man. And for everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in.